Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out what looks like an ordinary nickel, only to discover it could be worth more than a brand new luxury car, or even a house. Yes, the Jefferson nickel, that small, everyday coin we've all seen and used for decades, hides some of the rarest and most valuable treasures in American coin collecting. And tonight, we're counting down the top 5 Jefferson nickels that have stunned collectors with jaw-dropping values well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. By the end of this list, you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again. If you love history, hidden treasures, and stories that make you say, "No way, that's real," then stick around. And before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because you don't want to miss the next coin that could change everything you thought you knew about US money. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out what looks like an ordinary nickel, only to discover it could be worth more than a brand new luxury car, or even a house. Yes, the Jefferson nickel, that small, everyday coin we've all seen and used for decades, hides some of the rarest and most valuable treasures in American coin collecting. And tonight, we're counting down the top 5 Jefferson nickels that have stunned collectors with jaw-dropping values well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. By the end of this list, you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again. If you love history, hidden treasures, and stories that make you say, "No way, that's real," then stick around. And before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because you don't want to miss the next coin that could change everything you thought you knew about US money. Now, let's begin with a coin that almost everyone has seen before. The 1946 Jefferson nickel. At first glance, in a circulated condition like the one you're looking at now, it seems so ordinary. The edges are worn, the shine has faded, and it looks like just another coin that's passed through countless hands at grocery stores, gas stations, and diners back in the day. Nothing special, right? But here's where the story takes a wild turn. You see, 1946 was a historic year for US coinage. World War II had just ended, and the US Mint was making changes. During the war, Jefferson nickels contained silver, yes, actual silver, because nickel was needed for the war effort. But in 1946, the Mint switched back to the regular copper-nickel alloy. That makes this coin one of the very first post-war nickels, a piece of history marking the return to peacetime America. Now, the circulated 1946 nickel in your hand might only fetch $1 or $2 from a casual collector. That's the part that fools most people. But here's the shocking truth. Certain rare varieties and error coins from 1946 can bring values that will blow your mind. Imagine this, a double die version, where the date or lettering is struck twice, making it look blurry or shadowed. These errors are so scarce that collectors will pay thousands just for one in decent shape. But the real jaw-dropper? High-grade 1946 nickels, the ones that somehow survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, and touched for decades, can command staggering amounts at auction. A flawless coin, graded Ms. 67 or higher, has been known to reach values upwards of $20,000 to $40,000, and when you throw in a full step designation, meaning the tiny steps on Monticello are fully visible, collectors lose their minds. That's where we've seen values leap into the six-figure range, over $100,000 for a single coin. Just imagine, a nickel you'd dismiss as pocket change could secretly hold the value of a luxury car, or even a down payment on a house. And here's the kicker, the odds of finding one are not as crazy as you think. These nickels circulated heavily, but a handful of untouched rolls still hide in attics, safe deposit boxes, and old coin jars across America. That's what keeps collectors on the hunt. That little thrill of wondering, could the next Jefferson nickel I check be worth a fortune? So while this circulated 1946 Jefferson nickel may look ordinary and well-worn, it represents the doorway to one of the most exciting chapters in coin collecting. A reminder that history, rarity, and condition can transform a 5-cent piece into a $100,000 treasure. And we're only just getting started, because the next nickel on this list pushes the wow factor even higher. Next up, we've got something that looks almost too far gone to care about. A 1988 Jefferson nickel in very bad condition. Look at it closely. The scratches, the fading details, the worn-down face of Jefferson. If this were sitting in your change, most people wouldn't even bother picking it up. It's the kind of coin you'd expect to see rattling around in an old coffee can or stuck to the bottom of a drawer. But here's the part that'll stop you in your tracks. While the 1988 nickel was part of a very ordinary minting year, certain mistakes, minting errors that slipped through the cracks turned some of these so-called worthless coins into jaw-dropping treasures. Picture this, a coin like the one in front of you, beat up and worn, suddenly revealing a rare double die error under magnification. Or even more shocking, a misstrike, where the coin wasn't centered properly, leaving Jefferson's portrait lopsided or Monticello stretched out like a funhouse mirror. These dramatic errors don't just draw curiosity, they bring in serious money. Now, you might think, how much could this old, ugly nickel really be worth? In bad condition, normal 1988 nickel is worth, well, 5 cents. That's it. But if you happen to hold one of those elusive errors, collectors have paid $2,000 to $10,000, even for coins that look like they've been through the ringer. And here's where the story gets even crazier, and circulated examples, especially with full steps, have sold for $20,000 to $30,000 at auction. That's right, a modern-looking nickel from the late 80s, something most of us spent without a second thought, is now a collector's obsession. And believe it or not, in recent years, certain mint-state 1988 nickels with flawless full steps have climbed into the six-figure range, over $150,000 for a single coin. Let that sink in for a second. A coin from the Reagan era, something you could have had jingling in your pocket at the grocery store, now worth more than some luxury homes. But here's the part that makes seasoned collectors shake their heads: the ugliest. Most beat-up coins are sometimes the most deceptive. Errors don't need to be shiny or pretty, they just need to be rare. So that scratched-up 1988 nickel you're seeing right now, it may look like pocket trash, but it could secretly hold a value that makes even lifelong collectors do a double take. So the lesson here? Never, ever ignore a coin just because it looks too far gone. Condition matters, but rarity can outweigh everything. And as we move further down this list, the surprises only get bigger, because the next Jefferson nickel takes us to an era where value doesn't just climb, it skyrockets. And before we reveal it, don't forget, if you're enjoying these shocking stories, make sure you tap that subscribe button. That way, you'll never miss the next hidden treasure that could be sitting in your very own pocket change. Moving on, we come to the year 2000, a new millennium, a fresh start. And believe it or not, even a Jefferson nickel that can leave collectors speechless. At first glance, the 2000p nickel you're looking at right now doesn't inspire much confidence. The P mint mark tells us it was struck in Philadelphia, and the coin itself looks rough. The surface is dull, the details are smudged, and it feels like just another modern nickel that's been rattling around in circulation for 20+ years. Bad condition, right? Worthless? Well, here's where things take a shocking twist. The year 2000 was notorious for striking problems at the US Mint. That means countless errors slipped into circulation, and today, those errors are worth a small fortune. Some of the wildest include off-center strikes, double strikes, and even coins struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the nickel was accidentally struck on a dime or foreign coin blank. When that happens, the coin instantly becomes one of a kind, and collectors will throw staggering amounts of money at it. Now, in its worn-down, everyday state, a 2000p nickel might fetch no more than face value, 5 cents. That's all. But when you find one of those rare errors, even in bad condition, that transforms. Suddenly, that beat-up nickel can command $5,000 to $15,000. And the clean, uncirculated examples with those dramatic minting mistakes, those have shocked collectors, with prices soaring into the $40,000 to $60,000 range. But wait, it gets even more jaw-dropping. The elusive high-grade, flawless examples with full steps from the Philadelphia Mint, something that shouldn't even exist in such perfection, have brought home auction records pushing $200,000. Yes, A coin minted in the year 2000, the same year people were worried about the Y2K bug crashing computers, is now worth enough to buy a house outright. And that's what makes this coin so fascinating. It looks common. It looks modern. It looks like change you'd toss in a jar without a second thought. But in reality, hidden among millions of these nickels are treasures so rare and valuable they can redefine what pocket change really means. So next time you see a beat up 2000 nickel, don't be so quick to pass it by. That bad condition might be hiding a mint error that turns it into a life-changing discovery. And trust me, as shocking as this coin is, the next Jefferson nickel on our list is about to take things to an entirely new level of rarity and value. Now, we travel back to the early 1970s, a time of change in America. The Vietnam War was still raging, gas was cheap, and a loaf of bread cost less than a quarter. And right in the middle of it all, the US Mint struck the 1971 Jefferson nickel. The coin you're looking at now is in circulated condition, meaning it's seen its fair share of pockets, purses, and cash registers over the decades. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than a well-worn nickel from an era long gone. But this is where the story takes a turn that leaves collectors stunned. You see, the 1971 Jefferson nickel is infamous for its scarcity in high grades. That's right, the minting process that year produced nickels that often came out soft, with blurry details and weak steps on Monticello. That makes finding one with sharp, crisp details nearly impossible. So when a coin like this, even in circulated condition, turns out to have something unusual, collectors' jaws drop. Let's talk about errors. The 1971 nickel has some of the most collectible minting mistakes of the decade. We're talking dramatic double dies where the date or the words Monticello and 5 cents look shadowed or doubled. We're talking off-center strikes where Jefferson's face is partially missing. And the rarest of all, coins struck on the wrong metal planchet, such as a dime blank, creating a nickel that weighs less and looks completely off. These errors can catapult the value from mere pocket change to $5,000 to $20,000, even in circulated shape. But here's where things really hit the wow factor. A 1971 nickel with full steps, those tiny, perfect steps leading up to Monticello, is considered one of the ultimate rarities. Collectors have battled over these at auction, and prices have exploded into the six-figure range, more than $300,000 for a pristine Ms. 67 false steps example. That's right, a nickel that cost 5 cents in 1971, now worth more than some classic cars from the same year. Think about that for a moment. Millions of these coins were struck. Most were spent, lost, or left to fade in jars. And yet, just a few flawless survivors exist, making them the crown jewels of Jefferson nickel collecting. Even a circulated example like the one we're showing now serves as a reminder that every nickel has a story, and sometimes that story is worth a fortune. So while the 1971 Jefferson nickel may look like nothing special, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And for the collectors lucky enough to find the rarest versions, it's a discovery that can change their lives. Now, get ready, because the final coin on our list takes everything we've seen so far and pushes the limits of rarity and value to the absolute extreme. This is the one you've been waiting for. And finally, we arrive at the last coin in our countdown, the 1994D Jefferson nickel. At first glance, the one you're looking at right now seems painfully ordinary. It's circulated, the shine has worn away, and the edges have softened from years of use. It looks like a coin you might find in your pocket after paying for a cup of coffee in the mid-90s. Nothing flashy, nothing rare. But here's the shocking truth. This simple, everyday coin has taken the collecting world by storm. The Denver Mint struck millions of these nickels in 1994. But here's the catch: almost all of them came out with weak strikes. Monticello's steps are blurred. Jefferson's features are soft. So when a truly sharp example shows up, it's like lightning striking. Collectors go crazy. Even in circulated condition, if your 1994D shows an unusual error or stronger than average details, it could be worth far more than face value. Some of the rarest error types from this year include dramatic off-center strikes, double dies where the date or lettering looks doubled, and coins struck on the wrong metal. Imagine finding a nickel struck on a copper penny planchet, instantly creating a one-of-a-kind piece. Errors like these can take a worn-out 1994D nickel from being worth 5 cents to bringing in $5,000, $10,000, even $25,000. But let's turn up the heat. In uncirculated condition, with flawless full steps, the 1994D is one of the rarest Jefferson nickels of its era. Auction records show pristine examples selling for $60,000 to $100,000. And the crown jewel? A single coin graded Ms. 67 with full steps, considered the best of the best, stunned the collecting world when it sold for nearly $350,000. That's right, a nickel struck in the 90s. A coin you might have used in a payphone or a vending machine, now worth more than many American homes. Think about how mind-blowing that is. Millions of these coins were spent every single day in 1994 buying snacks, paying bus fares, tossed into tip jars. Yet today, one of those very same nickels can pay off retirement, cover a grandchild's college tuition, or even buy you the car of your dreams. And it all comes down to condition, rarity, and luck. So the next time you're tempted to overlook a circulated Jefferson nickel because it looks too common, remember this: history is hiding in plain sight. And sometimes, that history can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's our list. The top 5 Jefferson nickels that prove pocket change isn't always what it seems. From the worn-down coins of the 40s to the modern-day treasures of the 90s and 2000s, each of these nickels carries a story of shock, surprise, and unimaginable value. If you enjoyed this countdown, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you'll never miss another hunt for hidden treasures in your own change. Because the next coin you pick up just might be worth a fortune.